Welcome to a new time. Welcome to a new era.
This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
Feel the wrath of the Pythons. You shall feel the wrath of Hulkamania. This is where the power lies.
And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family.
I got a 66 and 2/3 chance of winning because Kurt Angle knows he can't beat me and he's not even going to try.
It's time to step into the squared circle and get it done.
Welcome back, everyone, to Legends and Champions for this week. Andy here, of course, coming to you live to tape. From Weymouth here in the United Kingdom, it's a very lovely morning as we're taping this at 9 a.m. Do you realize how early that is? It's 9 a.m. I didn't get to sleep until 4 a.m. this morning, and I'm already on my 5th coffee. So good luck for this show. And I say it's fun. It's absolutely raining cats and dogs here in Weymouth. I don't know what it's like where you are, Stefan, but we'll get to that in a minute. Of course, I'm joined this week by my long-time suffering co-host, Stefan Bennett, suffering because he has to go through these introductions each and every week. How you doing, Stefan?
I'm good. I was going to be a bit confused when you said that it's a lovely morning, because I was about to say it's absolutely hammering it down with rain here. It's a miserable-looking day, but it's a great way to start by getting some LAC done. So balance the books a little bit. It's not all too bad, is it, really? But I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
I'm glad to hear you're good. I'm glad to hear. I've had a bit of a week. So let me just put this out there, right? So I went to work on Tuesday, as you do, right? I went to work. I was up. Well, actually, let's take it back 24 hours, right? I went to work on the Monday at home, my home office, where I'm kind of doing things now. And then I went to acting class in the evening because we're doing a performance of We Will Rock You, by the way. And I've got one of the lead roles. And then at 5 a.m., I was in the car driving to my office in Reading. Not my office at home, because that would just mean I'd get out of bed and I'd be in my office. But I was in the car driving to Reading with the plan to stay for a day. That was it. And then at 4 o'clock, I got asked if I'd do an overnight. And I had nothing with me. I had no spare clothes. I had the most important thing. I had no underwear. I had no phone charger. I had nothing. I also didn't have a hotel. Got that sorted. But what was annoying was I could have recorded this show on Tuesday night if I'd known, but I didn't. So it's now 8 o'clock. No, it's not. It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and it's very, very tiring. But anyway, and then since that point, I haven't slept. I'm wired. It's great. How are you?
I'm okay. I've barely had no sleep as well. You know, when you're diabetic and you have medication that makes you have to visit the bathroom quite frequently to empty. Sometimes I'm just saying, on some nights and that you're waking up sort of every hour with because your bladder's going, all right, wake up, like having your sleep interrupted so frequently and everything just really drains you. But it's 9 o'clock. It does feel more like it's 6 o'clock in the morning to me. That's how tired I am. But I'm excited because I've always got that little bit of extra energy for a little bit of LAC. So
absolutely. But you know what makes it better? You know what makes it even better is we're recording this on a Saturday morning. It's 9 a.m. Later on today, on the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed, will be the Greeks taking over the airwaves, because later today on Saturday, each and every week, Mitch and Dimitri, the leaders of the Greek World Order, come to you on the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed, which you can subscribe to on all main podcast providers just by searching Celebrate Wrestling, and you can get the alternate commentary table. On a Sunday, you can listen to the boss himself, Daddy, as the Greeks call him, Mike McGuire with Mr. Dave Meltzer. And 9 times out of 10, because he is, I think, I think I can call him the official co-host. At least he should be. He should have his own show. It's Joe Aguinaldo, the wise man, will also, I would assume, be joining Mike for a bit of a conversation. We love Joe. Joe's brilliant. And then
Joe's
on Wednesday,
awesome.
And then on the Wednesday, as always, it's us, the L to the A to the C, going back in time, but not in a DeLorean. It's Legends and Champions. You can also be a part of the Facebook group at Celebrate Wrestling. All you need to do is search for Celebrate Wrestling, answer a few questions, because that's what Meta tells us we have to do, and
Indeed.
Mike will let you in. But we must make one thing very clear, Stefan. We must make one thing clear. The Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page is a no-jerk
zone. It's one of the loveliest places to be if you want to talk wrestling to like-minded people without the silly, nasty comments that some groups and pages and that contain. We're a very friendly bunch, and it's a great way for us to interact with you and for you to interact with us. So, yeah, head over to Facebook, Celebrate Wrestling, and get involved.
Right, let's do it, shall we? A bit of a different format this week because we're not going to ad break. You may realise that Stefan's joined me on the intro. It's normally me doing the cold open like an SNL, but just not funny. Then we normally go to a break, and then Stefan joins me. We're changing it up. We're changing the format a little bit going forward. Maybe. Don't know. Also, if you could watch the camera, my hands are going really funny, and I don't know why. I look like I'm a very bad Gordon Ramsay impersonator. It's terrible. I was going to try and go into Donald Trump. I can't do that. I'll leave that to Dimitri. Right, Stefan, you are running, God help us, the show today. So over to you.
Yeah, so we are. Some of you people may have seen in recent weeks a video that kind of went about showing various legends of the world of professional wrestling. Maybe not in the greatest of light. It very much puts a spotlight on, health and their personal states of mind, and something that really I find quite upsetting sometimes is when you see people online, so-called fans, when they seem to sometimes poke fun at those videos, and I find it really disheartening, especially when you think in hindsight about just what these individuals have done for us to entertain us through generations and generations. And it's something which we discussed off air briefly, and we thought, we'll do a show where we can kind of just break things down and give our thoughts and opinions on conventions, wrestling conventions, and the legends and talent that appear there, and some of the stuff that sort of goes down on there. So we're going to kick it off with probably arguably two of the biggest wrestling conventions in the world. One is in the UK, the other is in the US. Normally, I think they've done Canada as well. So first we're going to talk about For the Love of Wrestling, that predominantly takes place here in the UK. Now, For the Love of Wrestling is run by a company called Monopoly Events. They are probably now becoming the biggest premier name in conventions here in the United Kingdom. And they kind of hold their events up in the north of England. It started off at the Exhibition Centre in 27th to 28th of April 2019 at the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool, where they had guests such as Bret the Hitman Hart, Brooklyn Brawler. Do you know, I'd love to meet Brooklyn Brawler. Booker T, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Chris Jericho, Jimmy Hart, Kelly, Kevin Nash, even Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight, Ric Flair, Scott Hall, to name a few. It's been going on only for the past 4 years, and it will be held now in Manchester. I've been to one. I think you mentioned, Andy, in the past about For the Love of Wrestling. Am I right in thinking you've attended one, or you're planning to attend one?
No, I've not attended one. I've potentially done some work with them in the past. We were talking about doing some sort of crossover with another show, but that never came to fruition. I think, the one thing that you've got to look at with these conventions, especially with, FTLOW, is the fact that For the Love of Wrestling, that's what they call it, FTLOW, it's hashtag FTLOW, is the fact that you know, the wrestling's not the only one they do. So they do For the Love of Horror, they do For the Love of Sci-Fi, they do all the other things. And what you got to imagine with this thing is it's just like going to, you know, the San Diego Comic-Con, right? You've got traders, you've got events. What they do differently with this one, which I personally like, is the fact that they have a squared circle in the middle of the arena floor, and when the talent come in to do the Q&A and do the sessions, they're in the squared circle. So it's kind of like a familiar surrounding. Yep. They've also utilized wrestling companies across the UK to do some live shows before now. So I think the one thing, you know, we need to address with this is the fact that, you know, they do go all out for the fans. And from what I've heard and from what I know from speaking to people that have been, from speaking to talent that have been involved with it, they look after the talent as well. And that's, I think, a difference between maybe some of the smaller conventions compared to these bigger ones, such as FTLOW. Now, we need to be very careful with this, because one of the things that we need to look at when we're talking about how conventions work and how they look at the legends and how they treat the legends is not trying to pigeonhole all conventions into the same tarnish brush. And I think we also need to look at, you know, the fan reaction, the amount of what footfall that they get coming through. And the Manchester Convention Hall that they run this in is absolutely huge. It is humongous. Back to you.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is the kind of the monopoly events where things they have different conventions. Some are catered specifically to a certain genre, and they all start with For the Love of. So, as Andy pointed out, For the Love of Horror is one that I've attempted. I'm muddling my words. I'm doing an Andy Evans today. It must be a host sort of thing.
The power of StreamYard.
That's it. So yeah, For the Love of Horror, I've attended numerous times and always had a blast. And that is something I think you pointed out, which I think is absolutely right. They're known for looking after their talent. I mean, I've been to numerous conventions all over the UK as well as in the US, and ones that are run by different people, different companies. And it is very much the one I've been to where the talent always seem to be well looked after, always seem to be quite happy and in their best spirits. So I think that's worth pointing out is they always try their best to look after you as a customer and as a visitor as well. Obviously, you know, imagine thousands upon thousands of people attend these events, so they have staff scattered everywhere. But they try to always look after you as well as the talent and their guests. And I always think that's... you know, that goes a long way, and I think that's why their reputation in the United Kingdom is growing. Okay,
so you've set the scene really nicely there for what For the Love of Wrestling is. You know, in a nutshell, it's the biggest convention series within this country. It's expanding into Europe, and it's growing at a fair pace. Now they do get some A-listers across all of the brand. The other one that you wanted to touch on was WrestleCon, which is coming out of the US. And the reason for cutting you off is I kind of want to get to that now.
That's where I was heading. Yeah,
where we can look at, you know, the comparison between the two. So, in a nutshell, and everybody knows what WrestleCon is, but in a nutshell, explain the principle and the concept of WrestleCon. You've attended it, and let us know your thoughts on the organization of WrestleCon compared to FTLOW.
WrestleCon is brought to you by High Spots. I attended the one in Dallas in 2022 and the one in Philadelphia in 2024, and I find it very well organized. I find it a very intimate setting because talent seem to, when they're not at their desks, they seem to be wandering around. They always seem to be sort of, you know, interacting with other wrestlers, sort of sharing stories, having a catch up. Sometimes when they're floating around, they're usually very polite when you approach them. And what I love about WrestleCon is their range of talent that they have. They have everything from the creme de la creme of legends to current stars that you know are in AEW, that are on the independents, all down to like the smallest promotions that you could think of. I mean, 2022, I was I was really spoiled for choice. I think it was so busy, I didn't get a chance to see everyone I wanted to meet, but I got to see the most of them. People like Danhausen, that was absolutely brilliant because at that point he had never visited the UK for an appearance. People like JBL, Teddy Long, Jerry the King Lawler. Got to meet Switchblade Jay White, who's personally one of my favourite wrestlers in the world. I just think he's brilliant talent. So, and as I touched on our managers episode, Slick, getting to meet those guys, it's a very, very friendly environment and a very well run. They've currently got a show coming up in Newark, which is taking place on Friday the 1st of August and Saturday the 2nd of August at the Newark Liberty International Airport Marriott Hotel. So if you are over in the States or fancy heading over that way, then head over to WrestleCon.com and get your tickets there. So with that being said, Andy,
just before you do that, promotional opportunities are available, WrestleCon. If you would like to send us some money or a ticket to attend, that would be absolutely fine. I have some annual leave coming up. I will certainly go and represent the show. That's fine. Don't worry.
Why not? Okay, so
I said one ticket, right? One ticket.
It's like that. Okay,
it's like that.
It's like that. All right.
Whose name's on the
show? People wonder why I'm mean to you sometimes.
But whose name's on the show? Whose name's on the show?
See, my God, if you guys could see him, I think his head is just grown like 5 times.
Yep.
Like in a matter of seconds.
25 years of podcasting, mate. I'm entitled to it.
He's entitled. I'm entitled
to it, baby.
Okay.
And anybody who knows me knows that if anybody who knows me knows that I'm taking the proverbial right now. I don't think that at all. Or do I?
All right, so we're moving on. So let's talk about fan interaction at some of these conventions. I mean, it's no big secret. I mean, we see it quite frequently. You go on social media. Sometimes talent themselves, they go to social media and sometimes they make comment about if you're talking about people like CM Punk, Drew McIntyre in recent times, they're talking about people's personal hygiene. There's that long running joke about, kind of deodorant and things like that. But unfortunate when we have someone like Saraya Knight, someone who we hold very dear to us here in the UK because she's one of our own and she's been through a hell of a lot. And as Andy and I, more so Andy touched on with her autobiography, Hell in Boots, which you can get now. And it's a fantastic journey to go through in that book. She took to social media to express her displeasure that unfortunately a fan made an attempt to kiss her at a recent convention. Now, that's not the only thing we've seen. We've had talent where they've gone on social media and they've also mentioned where, there's been fans out there that have not respected their personal space. They've put their hands on areas of, the female talent, which is unwarranted. Also, we see where there's talent and legends where they're kind of in the middle of conversations with other, colleagues of theirs from the past, other wrestlers, where, fans will go up to them, get in their faces and that for attention. They want their attention for a photo or an autograph. And also there's the well-known issues with hanging out, stalking at hotels and at airports. Andy, I want to get your thoughts on that because they're very well within their right to be aggrieved by these things because at the end of the day, we know that when they're in their work environment where they're getting paid and that they're paid, they can interact with fans. Sometimes when they attend these conventions, that's how they make their money is through the autographs and the photo ops. They have their tables. That's where you come, you pay your money, you get what you're after there. What's your thoughts on the way these behaviours potentially could affect the future of conventions if more's not done to protect the talent?
It's an interesting, it's a weird bit on this side of the mic. It's an interesting perspective. And I think, first of all, we need to go back a step and talk about the Saraya situation. That is not acceptable in any walk of life, right? That's not acceptable if you're a performer, if you're an entertainer, if you're a musician, an actor, whatever. If you work in McDonald's, it's not acceptable. There is a respect there, and no one person has the right to physically touch or go after somebody else, right? So let's put that out there. However, to address your other perspective of fans coming up and saying, can I have a photo? Can I have this in their off time? I have two views on that. The first one is you are in an entertainment public light. Okay. As long as a fan is respectful and says, my God, look, it's the immortal Bret Hart. Can I have a photo? It's the immortal Hulk Hogan. I got the name wrong. Can I have a photo? Why wouldn't you? Right? As long as it's not interfering. Now, there is limits. If you're sat having dinner, if you're sat having, a meal with your significant other or your boyfriend or partner or whatever, and they come over to you and say, can I have a photo? No, absolutely. You're in your right. That's respect. Don't do it. But if you're walking around a hotel or you're walking around an airport, or as what happened to the WWE superstars when they came to Bournemouth a few years ago, and they were walking up and down the high street when they did the live tour at the BIC, and there was pictures in the paper of Alexa Bliss signing autographs with fans outside of Debenhams, which no longer exists. It's a respect for the fan to ask the performer, but for the performer to respect the fan. It's a two-way street. If the fan doesn't respect the performer, absolutely not. And I think sometimes as fans, we forget that these people are people. They are humans. They have lives. They have emotions. And I think some people consider them to be a monopoly, to be a possession. They're on TV. They're mine. I have every right. And there's people who believe that the people that they see on TV are the people that they see on TV. Right? We're smart fans. All of us are smart fans who listen to these shows, who host these shows. We know that Drew McIntyre's name is not Drew McIntyre. We know that Hulk Hogan's name is not Hulk Hogan. We know that Ric Flair isn't Ric Flair. Hell, we even know The Rock isn't called The Rock. He wasn't born The Rock. He was born Dwayne Johnson. But some don't. Now, that also comes down to whether or not there's mental health issues there, whether or not there's learning difficulties, or whether or not there is this stalkerism that comes into play. And I don't want to go down that route. But there is a respect element on both sides. If a performer of any field says, thank you, but not at this precise moment, then the person who's asking for it respectfully goes, thank you very much, and walks away. And the same is at a convention. Now, I've been at a load of these conventions, not wrestling ones. I went to the Comic-Con that took place in London, and it was my stag weekend. So anybody in the States and Canada, a Bucks weekend, right? So I went to my stag weekend, and I had some people. I had Dan from TWS, who used to be who's one of my closest friends. And
shout out to Dan. Shout out to
Danny Boy, and Danny Boy. And one of the people that was there was the fallen angel Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian as bad influence. Now, there was 5 or 6 of us at this stag weekend hanging out of our backsides because we'd had a heavy night the night before. But we walked up to them and said, do you mind if we have a group photo? Now, we didn't pay for it. They said, oh, yeah, what are you here for? And I think Dan turned around and went, it's my stag do. Do you know what they did? They walked over, shook my hand, had a chat, and gave us a free photo with everybody.
Yeah.
And they went, good luck. Why are you doing it? But good luck. But that was that conversation. Now, if they turned around to me and said, yeah, you can have a photo, but you have to pay for it, I would have paid for it because it was a moment to have a photo with the group with bad influence. But they didn't. That's that respect. And at the end of it, I shook their hand and said, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Good luck. See you later.
Yeah.
A month later, I had Christopher Daniels on the show. But, that's that respect thing. If they said no, it would be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a similar, which it's what you said when you talk about respect, respecting them and respecting the fan. I remember, I think it was in 2015, I was in London, I was in Leicester Square, I was going to the Leicester Square Theatre to see a William Regal show. It was an evening with a wrestling villain. It's like a Q&A show where he could. You was there. That day, earlier that day, I was just walking around, and my friend and I were just standing there in the middle of the street, just talking. And then, in the corner of my eye, I've just caught this big guy, like just walking up the road, and look, I've gone, Dan, look, is that? Oh yeah, my mate's called Dan as well. Too many Dans. I went, is that Dave Bautista? And he's looked, where? There, the shirt and tie. He's looked, he's gone, I think that's Dave Bautista. I was like, right, okay. So it was like, oh, well, of all the places, and it was the most random like thing. And then he's come up in our direction, and I've noticed someone's just gone up to him and just said, can I have a photo? And he's gone, yeah, sure. And he's posted a photo. So I thought, okay, I'll ask. So I went up to him and I just said to him, and I was polite, and I don't care if people mock me for saying this. And I just said to him, excuse me, may I have a photo, please? Is that okay? If not, that's cool. And he just went, yeah, sure, no problem. Now, I had the selfie with him, but it was bittersweet because in the photo, he's looking like his eyes are in a different direction, because there was this guy this ginger guy who was irritated. I actually think he was refused entry to the show in the end. He was mocking him there in the streets, calling him blue, because this was the whole thing where the internet was crazy about this Blue Tista thing. This guy was mocking him. Now, bearing in mind, Dave Bautista would probably snap this guy like a twig. This guy was really, but he was very obnoxious. Mm. And after insulting him, he went up to Bautista and he just said, "Oh, just joking, mate." He said, "Oh, let's." He went, "Come on," and he got his phone out. He didn't ask. After he's just mocked him, and like Bautista just turned around and just went, like, "Get the fuck away from me."
We need to apologise for that.
Fug. Not the CK, but yeah, if it came out that way, yeah, we'll mute that. But yeah. He said, "Get the fuck away from me." And this guy then stands there and has the gall to start throwing further insults at him, because he's like, "Oh, you don't care about your fans and all that." And I'm thinking, how entitled do you think you are? And how disrespectful and rude do you think you are to, you're standing, you've already given him a load of stick. Whether you thought it's banter or not, I mean, he's from across the pond, so he might not understand the way British banter works. And then you get up in his personal space, assuming he's going to take a photo, don't ask. And then you get further annoyed and agitated when he refuses, because, he's clearly doesn't like your approach. So when you see things like that, that's when you say about respect for both. Yeah, absolutely. The one person I think I've ever gone, I don't like the way he interacts with others, was probably Alberto Del Rio. Was, everyone was being polite and he was very rude. So yes, it works both ways. I think you're also correct when you say, if you're working in the entertainment industry and you are on screens globally, you've got to understand that there's going to be some of that attention that comes with that role. But again, it is maintaining that respect. So,
it's weird, isn't it? Because when you look at it in this sort of way, right? And I've not, I'm going to say I've not been involved in the show. I've not planned it. This is all yours, and I like the concept of it. It's very easy for people to kind of go, oh, they're going to bash fans and we're going to bash legends and we're going to do this. And we're not trying to do that at all. It's a case of trying to do it in a very structured, dignified way. I was a commentator and a general manager and a booker for a company here in the UK, in Weymouth, many, many years ago. And for whatever reason, I'm not getting into it, I left, right? And I didn't go back to see a show for over 10 years. Okay, so it wasn't the best ending. I didn't get released. I quit before I got released. And And I went back to a show because A, Dan was the MC. So I went to support Dan. B, it was in my local town. And C, my other best friend was coming with his partner and kids, right? So I thought, sod it. I'm going to go. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to go back. I was in a self-imposed exile. I didn't want to go back. It was quite, painful to go back. But I went back and I was stood in the queue outside the ballroom at the pavilion waiting to go in. And I had 4 or 5 people walk up to me going, you used to be the commentator, or you were the general manager, or you were this. Can I have an autograph? And I'm like, I'm nobody, right? I'm nobody. I'm a podcaster. That's what I've done for 25 years. I've done this. I'm no one. Why do you want a picture of me? And they turned around and they went, because you called some of the matches that we enjoyed watching the most on UPW Plus, or on the streaming service or anything like that, and you go back and watch it. Now I could have easily turned around and gone, no, right? I'm just a fan. But actually, for me, it was quite an honor for that person to walk over to me and go, can I have an autograph? Can I have a photo? Can I have a selfie? Then they obviously, they believed that everything was real within the industry. They thought, I swear to God, they thought I was making a comeback on that show. They thought I was interfering and because I was the heel bad guy and all that type of thing. But just to be remembered was nice. And it was a nice, nice feeling, right? Maybe and then I went back to another show and more people came over because they started remembering who I was. And then talent started coming over. And it's not about me, because I go over to the talent and go, you've knocked it out the park. It's about you. But for them to come back and say, it's nice to see you again. And, the best one for that was Simon Miller. Miller.
It's humbling, isn't it? It's humbling.
It is humbling. It is really humbling. But I think, just to go to your point a second ago about, building on from mine about the respect factor, again, it is 2 ways. And I know you're going to get to it in a second, but I kind of think we need to jump over to it now. The video that came out a few weeks ago, as we're recording this, of a fan, it went viral. A fan obviously went to a convention and he recorded the legends that were there. Now, a lot of these legends, and JBL summed it up really nicely, and I'm going to try and find JBL's quote in a minute and make sure I've got the beeper ready. But JBL really summed it up nicely, where he went, how dare you? This went on Facebook, this went on social media, seeing guys like Marty Jannetty, who has got feet problems. The guy almost had his feet amputated about 6 months ago. The King, Jerry Lawler, walking out, obviously not wanting to be on camera. Lawler's been through so much in the past 2 years with the stroke. And as someone who's lived and cared for someone who had 16 strokes and didn't recover and passed away, do you know what? Yeah. Fair play to the King for getting over it as good as what he's done, right? It's that. You've got Demolition, who are, 60 to 70 years old, right? Bill Eadie's got a heart condition. Barry Darso played the Repo Man, for God's sake. He deserves all the help we get. But they were just sat at the table, but people are commenting on the fact that they've put weight on. They're 70-year-old, right? Yeah. Leave them the hell alone.
Yeah, I've got the quote that the response that JBL did put out in response, and I love this. And as Andy said, about bleeping it, I won't say the words that was said. No, I won't, because they were a close call. Like I said it with a double G, not the CK. But we'll go here. This is what he said: "This is life. We did what we love. We continue to, because we love wrestling. These guys are legends." Legends are worthy of respect. They are hobbling because they went out every night and performed, hurt or not. We don't ask for pity, and we also don't ask for some dip, to make videos of us to get clicks. We love our business, and we bear these scars. These are my friends. F you.
Couldn't have said it better.
And I think, absolutely right, because that is exactly what it's about, isn't it? Is these people, as much as we've enjoyed watching them over the years, especially in our youth, they are just like us. They get old. They're just like us. They get health issues. But they're going through so much more than what some of us are, because their bodies have taken years upon years upon years of abuse. And they've done it for the thrill and the passion of what they love. but they do it to entertain us. And if anything, we shouldn't be poking fun. We shouldn't be criticizing them. We shouldn't be surprised that they're getting older, that they're having weight changes, that they're in poor health. We should honor them, and we should have gratitude. And I just love that response from JBL, because it really does sum it up. That's exactly what the response should be.
I think you're totally right. And thinking about it, the long travel days, the early mornings, the standing for hours on end, the signing thousands of autographs, posing for hundreds of thousands of photos on a day, and you just take WrestleCon, for example, the amount of foot traffic you get at WrestleCon.
It's hectic. It's absolutely insane. It's fun.
It's like a weekend, isn't it? So it's the biggest weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We've seen reports of wrestlers feeling unwell or needing breaks, and it's no surprise, because apart from the physical strain, there's the mental and emotional fatigue, the constantly being on.
Yeah.
The smiling, the interacting, the relieving past glories, the trauma that they would have gone through. Now, I'm a mental health trainer. I'm a mental health first aider. I'm an advocate for it as well. And some of what these guys would have gone through, the travel time, the family impact that it would have had, the loss of family breakdowns, the loss of peers, which we have seen. And we, when we do these retro shows, we sometimes go, my God, look at this pay-per-view card. There's maybe one or two people still around, right? This is traumatic. Now, there is an argument that people say, yeah, but that's what you signed up for. You signed up for the 300 days per year. You signed up. Yeah, they might have done, but you benefited from it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing as well, is I just think, if you look at, for example, why they still do it. I mean, because this is one of the comments that really, I think, gets to me, is when we talk about, some fans on social media, they're poking fun at the talent for these various reasons. One of the comments I can't stand is when they turn around and they say, oh, run out of money, or, oh, needed a paycheck, do you? And things like that. Like, they're still saying, oh, you're desperate for money at your age and things like that. And this kind of brings me to the next point is, do you think that promotions, I mean, all right, it's difficult when WCW, ECW and that don't exist, for example, but do you think that maybe promotions should do more for legends that have given so much? I mean, I know in WWE there are legends contracts, but not every legend that's given everything for that company or and the business over the years is under a legends contract. Do you think maybe that more could be done? Could there be like a professional wrestlers like union out there that helps take over? I mean, what do you think?
That's been a long-standing argument for decades about wrestlers having a union or there being an off-season in professional wrestling. I think it's a difficult one, because I think ultimately there's only so much an organization can and should do, right? So you've got SAG, you've got the Screen Actors Guild, and you've got BAFTA in the UK, and you've got the Royal Variety Performance that runs the Royal Variety charity. For performers who are over a certain age, they can go into care and they get support. That's brilliant. At what point, though, do you say your responsibility comes to an end? Right? You don't get football clubs like Tottenham or Arsenal or Man United looking after legends 20 years after the time.
They do. Well, Manchester United, and I can say that as as a fan of theirs, up until recently under the new co-ownership, they were, because it was in the media that legends now were no longer going to get any money from the club, because the club were paying them. Still paying them some money as legends up until very recently. So that's something which I know Manchester United were doing. I don't understand why. I mean, that's something which obviously they, previously thought that that's something that they should or wanted to do. I'm not suggesting everyone should do it. I'm not saying that they have to do it.
I guess that's
they did do it.
But I guess that's different, though, because if you look at and we're not going to go down the legalities route, but if you look at the contractual law right? Those performers that compete for Man U or Arsenal or whatever are contracted to that group. They're not independent performers. They are employed by that club, going via PAYE, going through the normal employment law that we have over here in the UK. The difference in the States, is apart from the fact they have no employment law, which we've discussed before, but they might be contracted to the company, but they are independent contractors. They're independent performers. Now, the WWE, and whether or not, this is an argument you could go down a rabbit hole on, created the wellness policy. They created the rehab policy for any talent that had been in the WWE. Even if you come in and done one match, you were and you are able to access the support if you need it. And we know that there are certain performers that have taken advantage of that and done 3, 4, 5 stints in WWE paid rehab. One of them at the moment works for TNA, and one of them is incarcerated. But that's just two examples, right?
Yeah.
At what point do they go, enough's enough? We're giving you this. We're offering you this. You want to take it, that's up to you. But you not that you're not our responsibility. I don't mean it to come out quite as hard as what it's coming out. But it's a case of, we respect you for doing your time, and we'll do this. If you need it, we'll do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's, as much as WWE is getting criticized now for being a corporate commodity and the ticket prices going through the roof and all this, which I agree with is terrible, I think the public perception of what they do for the legends is good, right? We don't know what All Elite do.
No.
It's never been communicated. We don't know what All Elite do. They might not do anything. They might do. We know that Tony Khan looks after the performers. Just take Bryan Danielson as an example, right? The guy's still involved with the company. He could have been released, but he's not. He's still involved in the company in the production area. So he's keeping him. But we don't know what other support there is. We don't know what TNA do, and we don't know what New Japan do.
I think with AEW though as well is when it comes to like legends that have of a certain age now, like are aged like we see at WrestleCon, for example, and things like that. I think because AEW is still in their infancy regarding that, they haven't really got many legends. I mean, you look at people like Jake Roberts and that, who's there as a manager, Don Callis and whatnot. These guys are getting older. They're of getting certain ages, but they don't have any real talent of their own at the moment that gets that point because AEW haven't really been around that long.
No, I know, and I agree with that. But there is an argument to turn around and say that if we're saying to the WWE that, should you do more and you're doing this, even if you've just had one match or one appearance, right? The amount of legends that have come into AEW over the past 5 years since they launched, or 7 years back in 2019, is high. So there is an argument to turn around and say, well, if you brought a legend in, you've given them a payday, you brought Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in for a couple of shots, he's got a bow back. Technically, should you be helping him? You brought the Nature Boy Ric Flair in. Ric Flair's known for having issues. Should you be helping him? The Icon Sting. Should you be helping him? Should he needs it? Lex Luger. Should he be need? And this is where I think we go into the gray area, because everybody is so used to having this one monopoly on professional wrestling. The World Wrestling Federation, the WWE. They are the big boy, right? Doesn't matter if you're at All Elite. Doesn't matter if you're TNA, New Japan, whatever. They are the one at the top of the tree, and they are the one that we all go to. And nobody actually considers what the smaller companies are doing. There might be a hell of a lot more support for legends than what we know.
Yeah.
Case in point, Sabu. Right? Sabu. Sabu passed away. Such a shame. Who did more to commemorate the memory of Sabu? The WWE, with a 15-second graphic at the beginning of the show, or AEW? Who did more?
Well, I didn't see AEW, so
AEW did more. They did a promotional package. They had Taz talking, and they really went to town. Now, some people could turn around and say they were cashing in. because they've got Taz. That could be the cynic on you. But the other side could be that they're showing the respect for the legends and the performers. This is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Either way, what they did was class. And it's been well documented and it's been well respected. What we need to think about, and realizing that we're 45 minutes into the show already, is when a talent is booked for a convention, right? Or when a talent is seen out in public, or when a talent has public interaction, what are the responsibilities of the convention to make sure that they're looked after? Because if you look at that video, if you look at Jannetty, walking around, there was no care. There was nobody there helping him. He was most likely on a 12-hour. They do blocks and they take breaks, and yeah, they do. But at what point do we have to say the promotions are done? Now it's the time for the local promoters or the convention owners and organizers to start looking after the legends.
That was going to be one of my final points is, when these promoters book these legends and these talent for their conventions and that, maybe should they maybe see what sort of state of mind or state of health they're in and actually think, is it actually in their best interest to book them for the conventions? Because, when you're looking at Jake Roberts, which is in this video, he's entering the building, carrying an oxygen tank around with him. You're looking how Frau Di Malenko is on his bike thing that he was on to help him get around. You do look at it, and as it's heartbreaking when you see your heroes, these legends that you grew up and you got to witness in their prime days at the top of their careers. And that harsh reality of life hits you, and you see that, and as you quite rightly pointed out, there's no assistance there, there's no one helping them, there's no one guarding them to make sure that members of the public are not approaching them, that blocking them from getting where they need to get to, things like that. I think the promoters should look at this and go, we should do more, because we need to make sure that, all right, they may say to us, because we know how stubborn wrestling legends can be, promoters could quite easily say, look, I don't think you're in the best of health at the moment. I think you'll be best off, resting up, and maybe we can book you at the next one, seeing how you feel, things like that. We want to do right by you. And we know that some legends that could turn around and say, no, I'm good. I promise you, I'm good. I want to go because they want to get paid. They want to get that source of income. So I see both arguments there. But at the very least, I think that they should make sure that they are well looked after, that they are well protected, and that they have every kind of assistance necessary to make sure that their stay while they're at a convention meeting fans, that their stay is as safe and as comfortable for them as possible. And then hopefully, they can leave happy and know it without issue.
I totally agree with you, and I'm just going to bring up 2 points and then send it back over to you to wrap up. I think the one thing that we haven't touched on in this is the old school mentality of the performer. All right. So, we're going what support, what help, and all that things should they give the conventions. But actually, back in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, that work rate was you did 300 days a year. You had a booking, you honored the booking. Now you take the snake, Jake Roberts, you referenced there about him coming in with the breathing apparatus. He'd had surgery about a week ago, a week before that video coming out. The commitment was I honor my booking. Yeah. So, and also at a certain point, this becomes their main source of income, is the convention circuit and the book circuit, or getting a podcast. It's let's put it bluntly, right? That is the three income streams that they have now. The podcast more so recently than what it was. And in a saturated market, because I think every superstar and his dog has now got a podcast, which makes it very difficult for others to get the content out there. But that's a different story. This is their income. Their mentality is we honor all bookings. To suddenly turn around as a promoter, and I'm going to flip it and actually say for the promoters in a catch-22 situation as well, because a promoter wants to do what's best for the convention and what's best for the fans and the attendants that get the bottom line. So they book the talent that they think is going to draw. 9 out of 10 times they do. If they said to a talent, I'll tell you what, don't come this year because you've just had surgery, we'll book you next year, they've lost the booking. They've lost that income stream. So whichever way we look at this, there is no easy way to come up with, this is a 5-point plan of what legends should do or what convention promoters should do or wrestling promoters should do to look after the well-being of a legend. All we can do is say, guys, use some common sense, right? Show some respect. If there is a line, right? Because I was sat there, you were talking and I was sat there going, if I was at a show and I saw someone like Giannetti in physical aid, would I hypothetically go over to him and say, do you want a hand? Would I do that? Now, my nature would be to go over and help someone. Yeah?
Yeah.
But is that showing disrespect to the performer?
That's what I was just thinking when you were saying that. It was just like, would they find that potentially disrespectful or embarrassing because they do have their pride, and sometimes it hurts someone's pride to accept help or ask for it.
I went to a convention once and Stan Lee, the late great Stan Lee from Marvel, was signing, and it was his last UK signing appearance. Right now, we all know who Stan Lee is, legend, but a frail old man by the end of it. And I saw him walking, and he tripped. Now, my instant reaction would be to go out and try and reach to grab him, but you didn't, because there's a respect factor there of saying he's got people around him. That's what they're going to do. It. Does he really want to touch? Does he really want some, hobo with a beard reaching out to try and grab him? So you can think too much into this. Human nature is to help and to support and to be there. And we can't forget that. Yeah. But there's also saying in the back of our minds, and I'm going around a very long way of getting to this, that is it the right thing to do? Then we overthink it. Would the talent want that help? And it's the thing about looking at your idols and looking at your icons.
I remember seeing, you mentioned Stan Lee there. I remember seeing the Val Kilmer documentary that was put out on Sky Documentaries a couple of years ago. And they actually had footage from his appearance at a Comic-Con in London, which was his final UK appearance. And you could see how tired he was, how bad in health he was, to the point he was vomiting. You just there's this clip of him which really broke me, where he actually gets up out of his seat where he was doing his signing. He heads over to a bin, a trash can for those in America, and vomits in there because he was in such poor health. And that was when I sat there and I felt so my straight away, apart from a heartbreak for seeing this, because I love Val Kilmer, was anger and resentment towards the organisers of the convention, just thinking, look at him. He's, even when he was sitting there interacting with fans, you could look, he looked like he should be at home resting. We already know he was battling throat cancer at the time, and that's how, the immediate thoughts and feelings I had on it. But I was looking at it, and then I was just thinking, but I didn't see anyone really looking out for him, assisting him, and that. He had one staff member that's sitting next to him, but when he got off, and they just stayed remaining seated at the table.
This is going to come across really hard, right? And I don't want any offense caused here. A talent has the right to say no to a booking. The convention promoter will approach a talent or an agent, but the talent doesn't have to say yes. Now, in that situation, and again, we don't know, we never will know, Kilmer may have known in the back of his mind that this was it. This was my last UK appearance. I want to do it. And he would have done it. But I think what we've got to be careful of, and I don't think we've done it in this, and I hope we haven't done it in this, is putting the blame on the promoters. Because the promoters have got a business to run. And a talent has every right to say no.
Exactly. That is the ultimate key point. There is everyone has a right to say no, and yeah, we're not bashing any convention. I just then, as I said, I gave my immediate thoughts watching Falco because it was unexpected. Because you're watching the documentary, you don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, I mean, I had friends that attended that event and actually met Val Kilmer on that weekend, and they just said, you know, he did look tired, he did look in discomfort, but he tried to be as smiley and as engaging as possible. Fair play to him. You know, can't imagine what it's like to be going through what he was going through and still give everything he still had to make sure that everyone was happy when meeting and interacting with him. So fair enough. But yeah, let us know what you think. If you've got any experiences or personal thoughts on that on Facebook at Celebrate Wrestling. Next week, we are going to be talking about someone who Andy alluded to earlier. And Andy's shaking his head now. Oh, have we switched it up a bit?
We switched it up. We moved it around. Next week, we are not talking about that person. We are going to WCW
1996.
We are going Bash at the Beach 1996. We're not going to be breaking the card down. We're not going to be talking about the card per se, but what we are going to be doing is talking about the impact that Bash at the Beach had not only on WCW, but on professional wrestling and pop culture as a whole. So next week is WCW Bash at the Beach. The week after that is going to be the Legacy of Sabu. So originally this week's show was going to be the Legacy of Sabu, Bash at the Beach, and then it was going to be Respecting the Legends. We flipped it around because of the timeliness of the video. So in 2 weeks' time will be the Legacy of Sabu. Then, to give you the menu of what is coming up over the next couple of months in no particular order, we will be, this sounds like the X Factor, doesn't it? In no particular order, we will be looking at ECW One Night Stand 2005. I can't wait for that one. We will be looking at the greatest female performers in history. We are going to be looking at the legacy of SummerSlam. We're going to be focusing on SummerSlam 89, the arrival of Zeus, and talking a little bit of No Holds Barred. And then we will be looking to 30 years in the past for SummerSlam 1995. We will then be going 20 years in the past for SummerSlam 2005. I'm avoiding 2015 because it was yuck. But these two events, of course, headlined by Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Mabel, Shawn Michaels, the bad guy Razor Ramon, and of course, SummerSlam 2005, Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels in that main event. And then in September, people, I'm excited for this one. We are going to go all in. The first one, a game-changing night in professional wrestling. So all of this and a lot more coming up on Legends over the next couple of months. But next week, Bash at the Beach, 1996.
The landscape of professional wrestling and pop culture changing forever. At Bash at the Beach 1996. We all know what happened there, and we are going to go through it with you next week. So, well, hopefully it'll be a little bit more uplifting and we'll have a little bit more fun. I do apologise that it was a little bit of a somber topic, but something which, you know, I felt passionate about and we wanted to address. But as I said, get involved in the Facebook group at Celebrate Wrestling. Head over, get your T-shirts, represent Celebrate Wrestling. I'm wearing my blue Celebrate Wrestling T-shirt right now. Thank you very much to El Capitan, Mike McGuire, for sending that out, and also be a part of the Greek World Order. Get your GWO alternate commentary table T-shirts available as well. And we damn well need a Legends and Champions wrestling.
Hell yeah.
Wrestling.
What is that?
Absolutely. And I remember your XWF show from last week, Andy. You called us the LAC Wolfpack. I like that. I was a fan of the NWO Wolfpack. I like Wolfpack. I think that's a good one. So, I don't know, maybe think of some ideas.
Can I just say, Stefan obviously hasn't worked out how a time machine goes because the XWF episode was 3 weeks ago.
It was. No, my apologies. I listened to it last week. I apologize. I listened to it.
We take these shows breaking the fourth wall. We take these shows in advance. It's the Saturday following the release of the XWF, so that's why.
That's why. And I was absent for that one because I wasn't well. So
you were.
So I'm a little bit sort of thrown all over there.
By the time you listen to this, we would have done Heroes of Wrestling and NXT Takeover. Money in the Bank would have been and gone. Who do you think? I'm going to throw it out to you now because by the time we do this, it's like 3 weeks down the line, right?
Yeah.
So we've it's going to be old school. Money in the Bank is tonight on pay-per-view on Netflix on PLE. You know who's going to be in the Money in the Bank men's. You know who's going to be in the Money in the Bank women's. I want one name. Go, men.
I'm going to go. Why'd you do this to me? I can't even remember everyone who's in the men's. I think I only know about 3 or 4 of them at the moment. My mind's it's early, damn it.
all right. You know, just
while Andy brings up the match card for that, I tell you what, when I'm so excited for everyone to listen to the Heroes of Wrestling show that we did. It was fun. It was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. We had so much fun with that one. Can't wait for that.
It gave me a headache. Right, the men's Money in the Bank match is Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, El Idolo, and El Grande Americano. So
Seth Rollins,
Seth. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to quickly run through it. It's 3 weeks ago. The results have all done. I just want to waste some time. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match: Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie Vaquer.
I'm gonna go Alexa.
I'm gonna go Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah, I think it's because Alexa's my girl. I just want to see her do something now she's back. So I'm just gonna say Alexa, even though probably wrong by the time you listen to this.
And I'll have forgotten by the time we do the next week's show. So there we go. Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso facing off against the GOAT, John Cena and Logan Paul in a tag team match. That's got to be Rhodes and Uso.
I'm going to go Cena Logan. I think they're going to win.
I reckon Sammy's getting involved. And then it's Lyra Valkyria facing off against Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Last chance saloon. If Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the title as long as Valkyria is champion. I'm giving it to Lynch.
Yeah, I'm giving that to Lynch as well.
Although I will say Valkyria has really stepped it up in terms of promos over the last few weeks of WrestleMania and Backlash.
Absolutely. Well, that's it then.
Without wearing those wings, I quit.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm glad she's... Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, we spoke on a show probably about a month ago. We were talking about how Lyra's really...
no idea when we spoke about it.
It was a little while ago from memory. We both mentioned how I have no idea. Who am I kidding? But
wrap it up.
But that's it. Yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening in. Don't forget to catch Dimitri and Mitch at the Alternative Commentary Table this weekend, and then followed by Mike on Sunday. And Andy, thank you for letting me lead this one. It's a pleasure as always, and we will catch you next time for Bash at the Beach 1996.
LAC Wolfpack for life.
This has been Legends and Champions with Andy Evans. Thank you for listening.
the alternate commentary table, ACT, brought to you by the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed. Listen, it's Mitch, it's Dimitri. We got this little pod thing that we do every single week where we talk about the week in wrestling and the way in which we do it from the other side of the railing, right, Mitch?
I like that.
We're coming at it because we love it, we hate it. The alternate commentary table,
ACT.
Download it anywhere where you're getting your podcasts.
Sure.